And our top story tonight, the Texas Education Agency releasing those guidelines for getting students across the state back to school this fall. It is a 9-page guide. It lists both recommendations and requirements for a number of scenarios that include online as well as in-person instruction and transportation.
It also requires teachers and staff to self-screen for COVID-19, and that includes temperature checks and monitoring themselves for symptoms. School systems may consider screening students for COVID-19 as well.
And right now, the governor's orders requiring masks in public when you can't socially distance will apply to schools. So that does mean adults and students 10 and up will have to wear masks. But if the order is changed, school districts can still make masks a requirement. Tonight, the Bexar County Judge, Nelson Wolf, talked about that.
Schools are going to have to be just like employers. They're going to have to make sure that that's being done. They're going to be on the front line of this issue just like employers have been.
Now, the Assistant City Manager and Interim Director for Metro Health tonight, Colleen Bridger, she is calling that mask requirement at schools a good start.
While the TEA lays out best practices for opening schools, one teacher association says schools shouldn't open at all. We have team coverage tonight. I looked into their concerns for you and into what you can expect once school starts.
I'm definitely concerned. I'm a teacher, I'm a parent.
This NISD teacher, just one of many, worried about what the school year will look like. Tonight, much anticipated guidance has come down from the Texas Education Agency. Masks will be required on campus except during sports or exercise. The agency recommends sanitizer in every classroom, desks spaced 6 feet apart, dividers placed between bathroom sinks and cafeteria seats, and staggered start and end times for the day. The TEA also saying students can do either virtual or on-campus learning. Switching between the two is an option, but will be limited. Hutchison says he worries about the kids' safety, but says if they're distance learning, they're not getting the social and emotional benefits of school.
I can't shake the kids' hands. I can't high five them when they come into class. All those little things that I think a lot of people take for granted. That show how teachers care about kids. So the students that are in the classroom, how often am I going to see them? Are they going to alternate days? I'm going to go from a class of 26 kids to a class of 12.
But despite the guidelines, the Texas State Teachers Association is very concerned, asking Governor Abbott to, quote, slow down and put safety first. They don't want schools to reopen until the pandemic subsides. Also saying in part, quote, the governor reopened restaurants, bars, gyms, and other businesses too soon, and the number of confirmed COVID-19 cases and hospitalizations soared. We can't afford to let that happen in our schools. Millions of lives are at stake. And you can take a look at the full 9 pages of guidance from the Texas Education Agency on our website, news4sa.com.
We continue now with more team coverage. We've looked at what they want schools to do about masks, about social distancing, cleaning, teaching methods. And now, what about transportation? Well, the TEA has a number of suggestions on how to get your kids to school and back safely. And tonight, News 4 San Antonio's Darian Trotter talked with a parent who says these suggestions are not practical.
There's a lot of people over here that do not have cars. There's a lot of kids that have to ride the bus, and the bus is not safe for people to ride right now.
Melissa Harnish, not mincing words about the Texas Education Agency's plan to reopen schools. Detailed guidelines include safety recommendations for school buses to help prevent the spread of coronavirus. Among the 4 transportation recommendations, school systems are asked to consider hand sanitizer be used for students and staff boarding the bus, and when possible, windows should be open to allow outside air circulation.
I think it's too hot to have the windows down in Texas. They just put bus air conditioners on these buses a few years back.
Parents are encouraged to drop students off, carpool, or have students walk to school to reduce possible exposure on buses. Harnish doesn't like that recommendation either. Here's why.
We're not supposed to be hanging out with people that don't live in our homes, so I don't think carpooling is going to solve some issues. We're going to be close contact with people that we don't share a home with.
The fourth and final recommendation is to have buses thoroughly cleaned with the windows opened after each bus trip, focusing on high-touch surfaces, seats, steering wheels, knobs, and door handles.
It's too much.
Right now, there are no clear plans, but Harnish doesn't think the responsibility should fall on bus drivers.
It's hard enough and stressful enough to make sure you get a bus full of kids to school safely.
Based on her current knowledge of plans to reopen schools, she's uncomfortable.
My children are going to stay home where it's safe.
Darian Trotter, News 4, San Antonio.
And we reached out to 18 school districts and are waiting to hear back as they finish developing their plans. We did hear from Judson ISD. It's offering 3 options: face-to-face instruction, virtual instruction, and a combination of the two. The second model would stagger schedules and alternate between in-person and virtual learning.